My husband's mother called me Anna at my own wedding, even though my name is Amara. She knew, they all knew. But for 5 years, not a single person in Marcus's family said my name right. Not once. Not at our wedding. Not at Christmas dinners. Not when I gave birth to their first grandchild. They smiled at me with tight lips and called me Anna, or Amy, or Marcus's wife. And I swallowed the hurt every single time because I loved my husband, and I wanted to belong. But before I tell you what I announced that made them stop, before I tell you about the day everything changed, you need to know how deep the pain went. You need to understand what it feels like to be erased in small ways, day after day, until you almost forget who you really are. And you need to know the 3 secrets I discovered along the way. Secrets that changed everything. I came to America from Nigeria when I was 19. My mother sold her jewelry to pay for my ticket. She held my face in her hands at the airport and told me to make something of myself, to be someone, to never forget where I came from. I promised her I would make her proud. I worked 2 jobs while going to nursing school. I cleaned office buildings at night and served breakfast at a diner in the morning. I went to class in the afternoon with eyes so tired they burned. But I never missed a day. I studied on the bus. I practiced English by reading signs out loud. I sent money home every month, even when it meant eating rice and beans for weeks. That's how I met Marcus. He came into the diner one Tuesday morning, looking lost. He ordered coffee and pancakes, and when I brought them to his table, he looked up at me and smiled like I was the sun coming through clouds. We talked for 20 minutes. He made me laugh. He asked about my accent, but not in the way others did, not like I was strange or foreign. He asked like he really wanted to know. He came back the next day. And the day after that. Within a month, he was waiting for me after my shifts. Within 3 months, I knew I loved him. Marcus was kind. Marcus was gentle. Marcus looked at me like I was magic. But Marcus also came from a family that had lived in the same neighborhood for 4 generations. A family with traditions and expectations, and a very clear idea of who belonged and who didn't. I met his mother on a Sunday afternoon, 6 months after we started dating. She opened the door of her big brick house and looked me up and down like she was inspecting fruit at the market. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. She shook my hand and immediately called me Anna. Marcus corrected her. He said my name slowly, clearly. Amara. A-ma-ra. 3 syllables. Simple. Beautiful. She nodded and 5 minutes later called me Anna again. His father did the same. His 2 sisters, Jennifer and Melissa, did the same. His grandmother, who lived in the basement apartment, did the same. Even his younger brother, who was only 16, did the same. At first, I thought it was an accident. People sometimes struggle with names they haven't heard before. I smiled and corrected them gently. But weeks passed. Months passed. Every family dinner, every holiday, every phone call. Anna. Always Anna. Marcus got angry. He corrected them over and over. He argued with his mother in the kitchen. He stopped talking to his sisters for 2 weeks. But they never changed. They would apologize, promise to do better, and then the next time I saw them, it was Anna again. After our engagement, I thought things would get better. I thought becoming family would make a difference. But at our engagement party, his mother gave a speech about how happy she was that Marcus found Anna, and how she welcomed Anna into their family. I sat there with my ring on my finger and felt myself disappearing. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table. He was furious, but I smiled. I had learned to smile through everything. The wedding was worse. Much worse. His family took over the planning. They insisted on their church, their caterer, their photographer. I wanted to include some Nigerian traditions, maybe wear traditional attire for part of the ceremony, maybe have some of our music. His mother said it would be too confusing for their guests. She said it with that same tight smile, like she was being reasonable, like she was doing me a favor. Marcus fought for me. He really did. We got to play one Nigerian song during the reception. I got to invite my friends from nursing school, even though his mother complained about the guest list. But mostly, it was their wedding, their church, their music, their everything. And all day long, every single person in his family called me Anna. The photographer announced us as Marcus and Anna. The DJ called us Marcus and Anna for our first dance. His grandmother gave a tearful speech about watching Marcus and Anna grow old together. I danced with my new husband and cried, and everyone thought they were happy tears. They weren't. That night in our hotel room, Marcus held me while I sobbed. He apologized over and over. He promised things would change. He said he would talk to them again. Be more firm. Make them understand. But nothing changed. When I got pregnant 8 months later, I thought maybe this would be different. A baby changes things. A grandchild brings families together. His mother cried when we told her. She hugged me for the first time ever. She talked about baby clothes and nursery colors and family names. But she still called me Anna. The pregnancy was hard. I had morning sickness that lasted all day. I was working full shifts at the hospital, 12 hours on my feet, coming home exhausted. Marcus tried to help, but he worked long hours too. His family offered to throw me a baby shower, and I was grateful. Maybe this was the turning point. The shower was at his mother's house. She decorated everything in yellow and white. She invited all her friends, her church group, her book club. She invited Marcus's sisters and aunts and cousins. She invited 3 of my friends from work, but they looked uncomfortable the whole time, surrounded by dozens of white women who kept asking them questions about Africa like they were all from the same place. During the gift opening, his aunt made a comment about hoping the baby wouldn't have too much hair. Everyone laughed. I smiled and pretended it was funny. When it was time to cut the cake, his mother gave a speech. She talked about how blessed she was to have Anna bringing a new generation into their family. She talked about teaching the baby all their family traditions. She talked about the baby carrying on their legacy. She never once mentioned my family. My mother who sold her jewelry. My father who worked 3 jobs to send me to school. My grandmother who raised 6 children alone. My heritage. My name. I went to the bathroom and sat on the closed toilet and cried as quietly as I could. One of my work friends, Keisha, came to check on me. She sat on the edge of the bathtub and didn't say anything, just handed me tissues. Finally, she spoke. "You know they're doing it on purpose, right?" I nodded. I knew. Deep down, I had always known. "Why do you let them?" I didn't have an answer. Our daughter was born on a Tuesday morning in April. 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Perfect. Beautiful. She had my nose and Marcus's eyes and a head full of dark curly hair. We named her Zara. Simple, pretty, easy to say. His family came to the hospital that afternoon. They crowded into my room smelling like perfume and bringing balloons. They cooed over the baby. They took a million pictures. His mother cried and said she looked just like Marcus when he was born. Then she turned to me, still holding my daughter, and said how proud she was of Anna for giving them such a beautiful grandchild. I had just pushed a human being out of my body. I was bleeding and exhausted, and my entire body hurt. And she still couldn't say my name. Something broke inside me in that moment. Something I didn't even know could break. Marcus saw it on my face. He took the baby from his mother and asked everyone to leave. His mother looked offended, but he didn't care. He ushered them all out and came back to the bed and held my hand. "I'm done," I said. "I know," he said. "I'm so sorry." "No," I said. "I mean, I'm done. I can't do this anymore." He looked scared. "What do you mean?" "I don't know yet. But something has to change. He promised again that he would fix it. He would talk to them. He would make them understand. I was too tired to argue. The first year of Zara's life was a blur. Sleep deprivation and diapers and trying to keep up with work. I had taken 12 weeks of maternity leave, but it wasn't enough. Going back to the hospital was hard. Leaving my baby was hard. Everything was hard. His family visited often. Too often. His mother had a key to our apartment and would let herself in without warning. I would come home from a night shift and find her in my kitchen, reorganizing my cabinets. She meant well, I think, but it felt like an invasion, like nowhere was safe. And still, always Anna. Marcus started working longer hours. A promotion at his accounting firm meant more responsibility, better pay, but less time at home. I was alone with the baby most days, and when his family came over, I was alone with them too. His sister Jennifer started making comments about my parenting. The baby's sleep schedule was wrong. I was holding her too much. I wasn't feeding her the right foods. She would say these things with a smile, like she was helping, but every word felt like a knife. I started avoiding family gatherings. I would make excuses, say I had to work, say the baby was sick. Marcus would go without me, and I would sit at home feeling guilty but also relieved. Then one Sunday, when Zara was 18 months old, I got a call from my mother in Nigeria. My father had a stroke. He was in the hospital. They needed money for treatment. I sent everything I could. I picked up extra shifts. I stopped buying anything that wasn't essential. Marcus helped, but his student loans took most of his paycheck. I lay awake at night doing math in my head, trying to figure out how to save my father and still pay rent. His mother found out somehow. She called me one afternoon while I was feeding Zara. "Marcus told me about your father," she said. "I'm so sorry, Anna." I was too tired to correct her. If you need money, we can help. Family helps family. I should have been grateful. I should have said thank you. But something in her voice made my stomach turn. Something that sounded like pity mixed with superiority. "We're fine," I said. "But thank you." "Are you sure? I know things are tight. We don't mind helping out." "We're fine," I said again, harder this time. She paused. "Well, if you change your mind, we take care of our own." Our own. Like I was a charity case, like I was something they had adopted. I hung up and sat on the kitchen floor and cried while Zara smashed Cheerios on her high chair tray. My father recovered slowly. The stroke left him weak on one side, but alive. Every week, I sent money. Every week, I worked doubles. Every week, I felt myself getting smaller and smaller. I stopped correcting his family when they called me Anna. I stopped speaking up at family dinners. I stopped trying to share stories about Nigeria or my family or my life before Marcus. I made myself quiet and small and invisible. And they seemed happier that way. Marcus noticed. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. He knew I was lying, but he didn't push. Then one Saturday afternoon, when Zara was 2 years old, his mother invited us over for a family barbecue. I didn't want to go, but Marcus insisted. It had been weeks since we'd seen everyone. It would be good for Zara to play with her cousins. I went. I put on a sundress and did my makeup and braided Zara's hair in 2 puffs on top of her head. I walked into that backyard with my little family and smiled at everyone. His mother immediately took Zara from my arms and carried her around, showing her off to the neighbors. His sisters were there with their kids. His father was grilling. Everything looked perfect and normal and happy. Then I overheard his sister Jennifer talking to their aunt by the pool. "I mean, I'm sure she's a nice person," Jennifer said. "But sometimes I wonder if Marcus settled." "What do you mean?" the aunt asked. "You know, she's just so different. The way she talks, the way she dresses, and that family of hers is always asking for money. I don't know. I just think Marcus could have done better. The aunt made a humming sound, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. And she's so sensitive about everything, Jennifer continued. Like, we try so hard to include her, but she's always offended about something. Remember when I suggested Zara's hair should be straightened? She acted like I insulted her ancestors. They both laughed. I stood there behind a tree, frozen. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might break through my chest. I didn't confront them. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. I walked back to Marcus, told him I had a headache, and asked to go home. In the car, he knew something was wrong, but I didn't tell him. What would I say? That his sister thought he settled? That his family would never see me as anything but an outsider? He knew that already. We both did. That night, after Zara was asleep and Marcus was watching TV, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and did something I had been thinking about for months. I started researching. I looked up nursing programs, advanced degrees, specializations. I looked at salaries for nurse practitioners, for nursing managers, for clinical specialists. I looked at programs that would let me work while I studied. And then I looked at something else, something that had been sitting in the back of my mind like a seed waiting to grow. I looked at business loans, at medical equipment suppliers, at real estate in our neighborhood. I spent hours clicking through websites, taking notes, doing calculations. By the time I closed my laptop, the sun was coming up and Marcus was snoring on the couch. I had a plan. Over the next 6 months, I enrolled in an online nurse practitioner program. I didn't tell his family. I barely told Marcus. I just quietly added more to my plate. Work, school, motherhood. I slept 4 hours a night. I studied while Zara watched cartoons. I wrote papers during my lunch breaks. It was brutal. There were days I didn't think I could do it. Days I fell asleep at red lights. Days I cried in the hospital bathroom. But I kept going. At the same time, I started saving money. Every extra dollar went into a separate account Marcus didn't know about. I picked up every overtime shift. I sold things we didn't need. I cut out everything that wasn't essential. His family noticed I was around less. His mother made comments about me being too busy for family. His sisters said I was being distant, but they still called me Anna, so I didn't care what they thought. I also started connecting with other Nigerian nurses at the hospital, women who understood, women who had their own stories of trying to belong in families that didn't want them. We started meeting for lunch, sharing our experiences, supporting each other. One of them, Ngozi, told me about her brother who owned a medical supply company. Another, Kioma, told me about her cousin who did commercial real estate. We talked about our dreams, about opening our own practices one day, about creating spaces where we made the rules. Those lunches kept me going when everything else felt impossible. A year passed, then another. Zara started preschool. I finished my nurse practitioner degree. I passed my certification exam on the first try. I didn't tell his family until after everything was official. We were at Sunday dinner at his mother's house. The whole family was there. His mother made a big meal like always. Everyone was talking and laughing and passing dishes around the table. His mother asked me how work was going, calling me Anna like she had for 7 years straight. I put down my fork. Actually, I said, I have some news. Everyone looked at me. The table got quiet. I finished my nurse practitioner degree. I'm certified now. His mother smiled that tight smile. Oh, that's nice, Anna. Good for you. And I'm leaving the hospital. I continued. I'm opening my own practice. Marcus's head snapped toward me. He didn't know this part. A practice? His mother said. That's ambitious. It's a women's health clinic, I said. In the neighborhood. For immigrant communities, women of color, anyone who needs affordable, respectful healthcare. His sister Jennifer laughed a little. That sounds expensive. Do you have investors? I'm funding it myself, I said. I bought the building last month. We open in 6 weeks. The room went completely silent. You bought a building? Marcus said. His voice was quiet, shocked. I've been saving, I said, for 3 years. And I got a business loan. It's all done. The paperwork is filed. The staff is hired. It's happening. His mother's face had gone pale. You didn't think to discuss this with the family? Why would I said. The words came out sharper than I meant, but I didn't take them back. You've never asked about my dreams. You've never asked about my goals. You've never asked about anything except whether I'm taking good enough care of your son and your grandchild. That's not fair, Jennifer said. No, I said. What's not fair is that for 7 years, not one of you has said my name right. Not once. His mother opened her mouth to argue, but I kept going. My name is Amara. Amara. It means grace in my language. My mother gave me that name because I was born after 3 miscarriages, and I was her miracle. That name is my identity. It's my history. It's who I am. I looked around the table at all of them, but you couldn't be bothered to learn it. You couldn't be bothered to try. You called me Anna because it was easier for you. Because you wanted me to fit into your family instead of making space for who I actually am. Marcus reached for my hand under the table, but I pulled away. I loved you all, I said, and my voice cracked. I tried so hard to make you love me back. I made myself smaller. I swallowed every insult. I pretended not to notice when you erased me. But I'm done. We never meant, his mother started. Yes, you did, I said. You meant every bit of it. I stood up from the table. The clinic is called Amara Women's Health. It's on the corner of 5th and Madison. There are signs going up next week. You'll see my name every time you drive past. My real name. I picked up my purse and looked at Marcus. Are you coming? He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Then he stood up, took Zara's hand, and followed me out. We drove home in silence. Zara fell asleep in her car seat. Marcus kept looking at me like he wanted to say something but didn't know where to start. When we got home and put Zara to bed, he finally spoke. Why didn't you tell me about any of it? Because I needed to do this myself, I said. I needed to know I could. I would have supported you. I know, but I didn't want support. I wanted to prove something, to them, to myself. He sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands. I'm sorry, he said, for all of it, for not protecting you better, for not standing up harder, for letting them treat you that way. I know you are, I said, but sorry doesn't fix 7 years. What do you want me to do? I sat down next to him. I want you to decide, them or me, because I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to family dinners where I'm disrespected. I'm not pretending everything is fine. I'm not letting our daughter grow up thinking it's okay to let people erase who you are. That's not fair, he said. They're my family. And I'm your wife, I said. I have been your wife for 7 years. I gave you a daughter. I built a life with you. But your family has never treated me like I belong. And you've let them. He was crying now. Actually crying. I love you, he said. I know, I said. But love isn't enough if you won't fight for it. That conversation changed things. Not immediately, but slowly. Marcus stopped going to every family dinner. He started setting boundaries. When his mother called me Anna, he corrected her every single time and wouldn't continue the conversation until she said it right. It caused fights, big ones. His mother cried. His sisters said he was choosing me over family. His father called him disrespectful, but Marcus held firm. For the first time in 7 years, he really held firm. Meanwhile, I poured everything into the clinic. I hired 3 other nurses, all women of color. I hired a receptionist who spoke 4 languages. I painted the walls warm colors and hung art from different cultures. I made a space that felt safe and welcoming and human. The grand opening was on a Saturday in October. I invited everyone I knew, my nursing school friends, my coworkers, the women I had lunch with. My mother flew in from Nigeria, her first time ever leaving the continent. She cried when she saw my name on the sign. I invited Marcus's family too. I didn't expect them to come, but they did. All of them. His mother, his father, his sisters, his brother, his grandmother. They showed up in nice clothes with uncomfortable expressions. I gave a speech at the ribbon cutting. I talked about healthcare access, about dignity, about creating space for people who had been pushed to the margins, about building something that mattered. When I finished, everyone clapped. And in the crowd, I heard his mother say my name. Amara, she said. Just that. Just my name. I looked at her. She had tears in her eyes. After the ceremony, she came up to me. The rest of the family hung back, but she walked right up to where I was standing with my mother. Your daughter is remarkable, my mother said to her in English. She always has been. His mother nodded. I'm starting to see that. She turned to me. I owe you an apology, she said. A real one. Not just words, but I need you to know that I see what I did. What we all did. And I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. I was wrong, she continued. I was scared, I think. Scared of change. Scared of losing my son to someone so different from us. And instead of getting to know you, I pushed you away. I made you feel small because I felt threatened by how strong you were. She took a breath. You are an incredible woman, Amara. You're brilliant and hardworking and a wonderful mother. My son is lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you. And I'm sorry it took me 7 years to say that. I felt something in my chest crack open. Not break, but open. Like a door I had kept locked was finally letting in light. Thank you, I said. That means something. Can we start over? She asked. I thought about it. About all the hurt. All the years of being erased. All the nights I cried. All the ways I had made myself smaller to fit into their world. I don't know if we can start over, I said, but maybe we can start fresh. From here. She nodded. I'll take that. Over the next months, things slowly changed. His family started using my name. Not perfectly, not every time, but they tried. They asked about the clinic. They asked about my mother, my family in Nigeria. They started making space for me instead of expecting me to fit into theirs. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments. Still times when old habits crept back in. But it was different. Better. The clinic thrived. Within 6 months, we had a waiting list. Within a year, we expanded to a second location. Women came from all over the city because they heard about a place where they would be respected, where their names would be said correctly, where their cultures would be honored. I hired more staff. I trained nurse practitioners. I built something bigger than myself. And my daughter, Zara, grew up watching her mother build an empire. On her 5th birthday, we had a party at the clinic. My family from Nigeria video called in. Marcus's family came. My staff came. It was loud and chaotic and full of different languages and different foods and different music. Zara stood in the middle of it all with frosting on her face and asked me why everyone was there. Because this is what family looks like, I told her. Not people who look the same or talk the same, but people who show up. People who respect each other. People who say your name right. She nodded like that made perfect sense, and then ran off to play. Marcus found me in the crowd and put his arm around my waist. You did it, he said. We did it, I corrected. No, he said. You did this. All of it. You're the strongest person I've ever met." I leaned into him and watched our daughter play with her cousins and my staff's kids, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt like I belonged. Not because I had made myself smaller to fit into someone else's space, but because I had built my own space big enough for everyone. The thing about being erased is that it happens slowly. One wrong name at a time. One ignored story at a time. One moment of making yourself smaller at a time. Until one day, you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. But the thing about coming back is that it happens the same way. One boundary at a time. One moment of choosing yourself at a time. One time of saying, "No, this is who I am" at a time. It's hard. It's painful. It costs you things. But on the other side of all that pain is something bigger than comfort or keeping the peace or being liked. On the other side is yourself. Whole, visible, named. Marcus's family didn't change overnight. His mother still sometimes struggled with understanding why certain things hurt. His sisters still occasionally made comments that stung. But they tried. They listened. They showed up. And I learned that sometimes the victory isn't in people changing completely. It's in refusing to disappear. 2 years after opening the clinic, I got a call from a local news station. They wanted to do a story about immigrant healthcare providers making a difference in the community. They wanted to feature me. The interview aired on a Wednesday evening. I sat on my couch with Marcus and Zara and my mother, who was visiting again, and watched myself on television talking about my journey. About coming to America with nothing. About building a practice. About serving communities that had been overlooked. The reporter asked me what my biggest challenge had been. I thought about lying. About giving some professional answer about funding or regulations or logistics. But then I thought about every young woman watching who might be making herself smaller right now. Every woman who might be letting people mispronounce her name because it's easier than fighting. So I told the truth. The hardest thing was learning that I deserved to take up space, that my name mattered, that my story mattered, that I didn't have to shrink myself to make other people comfortable. The reporter asked what advice I would give to other immigrant women. "Don't wait for permission," I said. "Don't wait for people to make room for you. Build your own table. Say your own name. Take up space. You earned it." After the interview aired, my phone didn't stop ringing. Women called the clinic saying they saw me on TV and wanted to be patients. Young nurses called asking if we were hiring. Organizations called wanting me to speak at events. And Marcus's mother called to say she recorded it and watched it 3 times and cried every time. "I'm so proud to have you as a daughter-in-law," she said. "Amara." She said my name clearly, correctly, like she had been saying it right all along. That's the thing about names. They're not just sounds. They're not just words. They're power. They're identity. They're the first thing we own in this world, and sometimes the hardest thing to hold on to. For 7 years, I let people take that from me. For 7 years, I answered to someone else's version of who I was. But I took it back. Syllable by syllable. I built a life where my name was on the door, where my voice mattered, where I didn't have to apologize for taking up space. And the most beautiful twist of all? 6 months after the news story aired, I got a call from the hospital where I used to work. They wanted to create a new position, Director of Inclusive Healthcare Initiatives. They wanted someone to train staff on cultural sensitivity, to build programs for underserved communities, to make sure every patient who walked through their doors felt seen and respected. They wanted me. The same hospital where I had started as a nervous nursing student, where I had worked night shifts while going to school, where I had felt invisible so many times. They wanted me to come back and teach them how to do better. I took the job. Not full-time, I kept the clinic, kept building that dream, but part-time. Enough to make a difference. And the first training session I gave was on something simple: learning to say people's names correctly. Because that's where it starts. That's where dignity begins. In the small act of caring enough to get it right. Now Zara is 7 years old. She's bold and loud and takes up exactly as much space as she wants. When someone mispronounces her name, she corrects them immediately, firmly, without apology. "It's Zara," she says, with an ah sound. It's not hard. She learned that from me, and I learned it the hard way. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the hard lessons we learn become the easy truths we teach our daughters. Marcus's family still hosts Sunday dinners, but now they're different. Now they ask about Nigerian food, and we make it together. Now they ask about my mother's village, and actually listen to the stories. Now they ask Zara about her heritage, and celebrate both sides of who she is. It's not perfect. Family never is. But it's honest. It's real. It's built on respect instead of just obligation. And every single time we sit down at that table, every single person there says my name right. Amara. Grace. Miracle. That's who I've always been. That's who I refuse to stop being. And now, when I walk down the street in my neighborhood, I pass my clinic with my name on the building, and I remember that girl who got off the plane from Nigeria with nothing but hope and her mother's blessing. I remember her, and I smile because I kept my promise. I made something of myself. I became someone. And I never forgot where I came from. My name is Amara, and this is my story.